everyone.
Oh my
Yay.
God, stop it, Renee.
We are twinning their girlfriend. Welcome, everyone, to the Unapologetically Badass podcast. I am Renee Carbone Fleming with my fabulous host, Sierra Whitener. Hello, girl.
Hello, girl. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
And we are so excited to introduce you to Tammy Brown. We are going to talk about punching through limits, and she's going to explain to you how she turned her passion into profit. So, hey, Tammy, welcome.
Hey guys, thank you for having me so much.
Oh my
We're
God.
so excited you're here, girl. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, okay, we're just going to dive right in. Okay. Why don't you share your journey? Like, how did you discover boxing? How did it evolve from a
Before she
hobby?
does that, before she just like goes into boxing, right? Like, okay, Tammy, who are you? Where
Oh yeah, that would help, right?
you? Like,
So,
I need to
my
know
name is
more about this
Tammy.
beautiful red hair, you guys. She has like this fire red hair if you can't see it. So, okay, dive in and
Yeah.
tell us about you first. I need to know.
Okay, so my name is Tammy. I am a boxing coach for USA Boxing. I train different types of abilities. So I do special needs where I train people with autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. And then I
Hmm.
also do amateur boxes that range anywhere from youth to about their 30s. And I own a nonprofit that supports mental health through fitness called Keep Fighting.
Oh my God, I love you. That's kick ass, literally, or punching ass. Absolutely. I don't even know if there's a word for how amazing that is.
Thank you
But
so
okay,
much.
so do you have a family? Where is your boxing career? Where is it that you reside? Tell us more
So
about that.
yeah, so I don't have a family where I have kids or anything like that, but I do have brothers and sisters.
Love it.
We lost our parents when when I was a teenager,
Mm.
a senior in high school. So we don't have any parents. And then yeah, so I have my boxing family, the one I created, right? All over the place
Mhm.
in New York City, and I reside in Huntington, New York. But where I
Okay.
train out of is in Deer Park, New York, and then also in Port Jefferson, New York.
Nice. Okay, so
Yeah.
now I have to know, how did you do the
Yeah.
punching or the passion to punching or punching to passion? What are we
Oh,
what
so
are
yeah,
we
so
punching today? Tell us.
so I started kickboxing because me and my friend was overweight. We were looking for a gym. We ended up in a gym out in Smithtown, New York, with a girl who actually competed Muay Thai. And so throughout my time of training there, I got really intrigued by it. And then we went to a fight and we saw a fight. And I remember thinking that moment, like, I imagine what it's going to be like if I ever did something like this. How would it feel like from the crowd and stuff like that? And I was like, you know what
Mhm.
is the worst? So I started to train Muay Thai at a gym in Port Jeff called Fusion Kickboxing and MMA, which now I currently have a program there as well. And I was their first girl fighter. They never had a girl before, which was very interesting. Getting beat up by the guys wasn't fun. And
Dang,
then
girl.
after I competed for a little while, my best friend had committed suicide, and that
Mm.
took a toll on my mental health. And then after that happened, I was in a 13-year relationship where I was leaving the person that I was with, and I left everything that we had together, including our apartment, our things, everything like that. And I started from scratch. And at that time, I realized I couldn't kickbox anymore. I couldn't keep getting punched in my face in real life and then getting punched in life in general because of everything that I was going through. So I took a step back. I worked a lot on my mental health. I went to therapy. I started to like really work on how important it was for me to feel better about myself, especially after my friend committed suicide.
Mm.
And I really, really missed it. I don't know. It was just really hard to not be taming the kickboxing, right? And so I started with peewees, little kids in their like 5 6 year old age group, and then I did that for a little while, but I was still a retail manager, which was for Sally's Beauty Supply. I worked for them for about 13 years before I had went to Macy's for a few years.
That's where the
And
red hair came in.
no, it actually came later, believe it or not. And so yeah, so I worked for them. I didn't love the job. I lost the job right after the holiday season. And all my friends was like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I have no idea." I had like
Mhm.
not really taught boxing full time at all. It was very part time. It was very lightly. And then one of my friends was like, "Hey, you know what? Maybe try getting back into boxing, getting back into coaching." And I was like, "Man, I'm not gonna make any money." Like, like. And so that was like one of the things that I remember feeling. And then I was like, "All right, whatever. I'm just gonna try. Whatever happens is gonna happen, no matter what." And so I started to like train youth, mostly like that high school age group where you learn how to
Mhm.
cope with your mental health and all these like things that you're going through. And I felt like it taught me to like healthy cope. And I thought that maybe if I started to give it back to kids, that they would learn how to
Mhm.
healthy cope at a younger age. And so like, when they got older and real life really started to hit them, that at least they had that boxing background and that discipline background. And then a few months after that, COVID hit, which was crazy, right? The gym shut down. I I was like, what am I gonna do right now? I took a job, and I remember I was having panic attacks at Rite Aid. It was like I was a retail manager again, and I was having panic attacks. And I was going to my doctor, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, and they were like, listen, sometimes the job is just not that important. And I was like, so what should I do? And they're like, if your mental is really struggling and you're really having such a hard time even showing up, maybe take a step back and see what's going to happen. And I took that step back. But during the time I was getting certified in special needs, I was trying to create programs that would really gravitate towards revenue where I didn't have to worry about the person and showing up and things like that. Cause a lot of this stuff was like state funded. And so
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
came back to the gym because the gym had opened. But when I did, I started the special needs program out here in Huntington. And then I was like, wow, I really love this. Like it was bigger than just like making money. It was more like what I was doing to help the whole different types of communities that I was in. And that really kicked off and that really started to like make it more of a career for me so that I can do the stuff that I do with the amateur boxers, excuse me. And then yeah, and then after a year or two, I started keep fighting because I wanted to help kids that were in that group like when I was younger, just having someone believe in you, putting
Yep.
all of their
Mhm.
belief in behind you and seeing what that's gonna do for them. For me, I didn't get that until my 30s, but for them, I was hoping that maybe it would start at a young age and they would become more financially smart, more smart on what they want to do, who they want to be, and also like to break the mold. So the red hair came after that. It came after COVID. It came like, okay, well, I'm gonna be a boxing coach and I want to be well known and I want to be recognizable. And so I dyed my hair bright red and I cut it in like a bob cut.
Love it.
And next thing I knew, I was in the corner of all these fighters, and people were like, "Who are you?" And yeah, and then like as the time went on, most people started to know me. I became really popular in New York boxing, obviously being a female coach, and that was like so unheard of. Everybody like kind of shied away from that aspect. Oh, I'm not sure if that's something that they wanted to do. Where me, I was like, it doesn't matter, girl, guy, I'm gonna be whoever I want to be.
Yep.
And it turned into
Yes.
like this bigger picture where I thought it was going to be so small and I was just for teens. And then in the beginning of this year, I actually progressed into a bigger gym. And so now I have adult fighters as well. I don't plan to do
Nice.
anything with pros. I just don't have any more no
Wow.
any more time to give them. But I also inquired a position with USA Boxing as the junior Olympic chair for the New York boxing scene and the
Oh.
kids. So that's pretty interesting in its own. And yeah, I went to Olympic trials last year. That was cool. And now this year we're getting ready to gear up tomorrow actually to leave for the nationals. So
That's right.
Oh.
Isn't that is just so fantastic. What kind of
yeah.
transformations do you see like in your clients? Physically, mentally?
It's crazy. You see so many people change and grow. Like it's so interesting. Like they all like get more confident. They all feel like they can handle more things, but they all get so much stronger. Like Sarah Palsy has been like one of my biggest like interest, like, because it's like the
Mhm.
muscle mind connection, they don't really have it. And you're
Mhm.
teaching someone how to do something that literally you have to connect the muscle with the mind and literally just like retraining their thought process, but also showing them that they could do anything they put their mind to. So, like, I
Wow.
really do feel like boxing's for everyone.
Wow.
Oh. Do you have like a really good story or or one of your clients that has really, really touched your heart from like the minute that you took them on and seeing it all the way through?
Yeah, it's funny. I have this girl. Her name is Emma. I actually just trained her before we got on this podcast, but
Oh.
she has cerebral palsy. She has a twin brother who has cerebral palsy and autism.
Wow.
Yeah, and they require 24-hour care, right? Because cerebral palsy, they
Yeah.
can't really do a lot of stuff. So when I first met her, it was crazy. She was lined up with another trainer at our gym, and I was watching them just like move sticks around with her hand, and it kind of bothered me because I'm like, it almost like put that stigmatism to her that she couldn't do anything. And that bothered me because
Mm.
I'm like, why are you not trying anything else? Like, why are we not adapting to what she can do and trying to create the part of it that like makes her stronger so she can do the other things? So everyone's like,
Mm.
okay, Tammy, are you sure you can handle this? And I'm like, no, I'm positive. No matter what, I'm just gonna try to figure it out. So as we go on to it, I always try to push the bar. I'm like, all right, if we can't do it, whatever. You fall on the floor, I'm gonna push you. Like, like whatever's
Yeah.
gonna happen is gonna happen at this point. So we like had a goal of eventually just being able to stand and walk. And it's not like for me and
Mm.
you, it's so like
Mm.
natural, right? You get up, you walk, and you move your feet, and everything is fine. But for her, she was getting her master's degree, and she wanted to like at least try to walk across the stage at this point. And I was like,
Oh.
okay, let's just try and see what we can do. As the years progressed, it was kind of like, okay, we're not gonna get the walk, but at least if we can get the stand, we can get this, we can get that. And now we're about 18 months in, maybe 2 years. And now today, like we're standing, we're walking around, we're stepping on our feet, but we're like at least trying to move
Oh.
them around and stuff like that. But to watch her progression going through the fact that she felt like nobody understood, she couldn't do anything, nobody's taking her even out of the wheelchair throughout the day. Everyone's just kind of like, okay, this is the position you're going to be in, and we're okay with that, we'll just stay there. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this is not a position you want to be in. This is the position where you want to be independent, you want to be on your own, you want to be able to move around. How do we get there? So it's been interesting because even watching her progression, even her mental health journey, through learning all this stuff, through just being able to tell people, hey, I'm boxing, and people looking at her like, what? Like,
Yeah.
impossible, Like, so yeah, that's like one that still touches my heart on a regular basis. We meet all the time, but just watching her go through what she's going through, it just makes me know that like it's for everyone. Like, and fitness, mental health, all that stuff. It ties into any person that you ever meet, old, young, disabled, not disabled. I hate using that word, but any ability that they have, and
Yeah.
so
Tammy, it sounds like you've been through a lot in your life. You lost your parents as a teenager, and then you lost your best friend to suicide. So, do you think that whenever you watch somebody box and you saw that excitement, that thrill, that aggression that you could leave out, did that fuel you from anything that you experienced, or do you think it was just in you? I'm really, really curious to
The
know.
experience definitely fueled it. Like, right, coming from nothing, not having a lot of that support, parental support either. It fueled the fact that like I knew I always wanted to do something. I never knew what it was gonna be, but I always knew in this world I was gonna do something. And I always like live a situation where I'm always like, be the change. How do you get to be the change? Whether it's something small and significant or big. Um,
Yeah.
in this time I've had like athletes that have had this whole entire like my full-time career of this, and just watching them win like like we won a ring masters this year, which is like the biggest tournament you can win in New York. And watching a kid win that, I remember crying after and everyone looking at me and being like, what is
Oh,
going on? But I was just like so emotionally like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that I got to watch him live his dream.
Yeah.
And now we're actually headed to
oh,
nationals, which will be his first one tomorrow. We leave, and to just go and feel like I'm watching him live his dream is so so cool. But the factor is that keep fighting. We actually sponsor them, so we actually keep my friend who committed suicide's name still in the picture. Her name's still around. All the kids know, and
oh.
to watch them all go live their dreams, it's like, okay, because something so big happened to me, but small to you, like because of that, now you get to go live your dreams without actually worrying about that financial burden, without worrying about anything else, but
Mm,
just showing up. So
that's
That's yeah.
amazing.
That is amazing. How has it been for you though, as a woman, in the boxing world? Like what?
It's trash.
Yeah.
No,
Spill the beans, girl. Spill the beans.
Spill the beans on
it
those
is trash.
obstacles and how
Because
did
I was in the army, and let me tell you, I
right
mean, you're 1
dance
to
world?
10 on the men spectrum, and I mean, it's just a whole different beast. But I stood toe to toe. I may have had to look up. So tell us, come on.
It is it's not easy. It is very much not easy. The idea of boxing, the idea of this being a man's world and it becoming something where it's like it shouldn't be like that. It should be whoever's for the sport. If I'm for it, if I'm for the greater good, if I'm for whatever's coming after me, because it's not about what's going on with me right now, but it's what's happening after me and what this is gonna do
Mhm.
for people. It almost feels like it shouldn't matter whether I was a male or female, but it does. And I
Yeah.
hate to say it like that, right? I hate to be like, oh, well, it is kind of, no, it is. It's super biased. It's super, oh my God, what could you teach my son as a female? Like,
Yeah.
and it's so frustrating sometimes when it's crazy that it's more the mom than the dad.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, it is more the mom than the dad, and I thought that I would have, like, more female support, right? People being like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, girl, you could do that. You could
right.
teach my kid." No, sometimes it's the mom who's like, "I would prefer a male over a female," and that is the craziest thing I think I've ever had to experience was like, it shouldn't matter if I'm a male or female. If I know what I'm doing and I know how to teach this sport, that should be what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and also just like being a female coach and with these males coaches who think they know everything. Oh my gosh,
Yep.
it is a lot. It's
Yep.
it's like people always being like, "Well, what do you know?" Or "You're new here. Like, what could you possibly bring to the table that hasn't been brought to the table?" And it's like, you know what? New York boxing is dying. It should not be any other reason that there's just someone for it. It shouldn't be that because I'm a female, I don't know the experience or I haven't been through the experience because I have. And fighting with females is way more intense, I think, than people
No,
realize
we're
than male.
scrappy. Girl, we're scrappy. I actually enjoy when we're watching the fighting. I mean, it's like ongoing the whole time. And I'm
Oh,
like, yes, yes.
yeah.
Where sometimes when you watch men, I mean, it's like boring a little bit. Come on, let's go. Okay, stop hugging each other. I mean, these women are, I mean, giving it their whole heart and soul.
Yeah.
And if people don't see that, I mean, oh well, see ya.
And it's more entertaining. I don't know if you like saw the
It is.
Netflix series between Jake Paul and Mike
Oh
Tyson,
my
and
God.
then
Well, we tried, but we did
With
get
all the
across the finish
buffering,
line.
you
yeah, and
know?
then the Amanda Serrano and the Katie Taylor fight. The
Yeah.
Amanda Serrano Katie Taylor fight was way
Way
more
better.
entertaining. And
Yes.
then you had that Jake Paul and Mike Tyson where it was just very low key and relaxed. It wasn't anything where I felt like,
No.
wow, I really wanted to see that over the Amanda Serrano
No.
Katie Taylor fight. So I feel like a lot of people they put it to the side, oh, you're a female, what do you know? To the point where it's like, man, I think I've had more wars in the gym than you have.
Yeah.
And in the sense of like females just don't stop. They're not even
Yeah.
thinking. They're just like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. Where a male's like, okay, let me watch this guy. Let me see what he's gonna do. Let me try to find my time. And where females are just swinging and they don't care.
Well, and
It's
I think
crazy.
that I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that Netflix special actually highlighted and elevated the women's boxing over the
Yeah,
men's because
yeah,
it was so apparent that the Tyson Paul fight, that was a money grab.
yeah.
And, the way Tyson looked in the gym prior to with all his TikToks and the videos, he looked like he was in tip top shape. The guy that showed up on Netflix that night, he was like grandpa. Like,
Right.
he was
He is
not
a
Right.
grandpa, Renee. Give the man a
no,
little
he is.
respect.
No, and I do. You know what? He looked like a fucking badass on his TikToks. I was like, he's really going
Well,
to
of
beat the shit
course.
out of Jake Paul.
Anybody can make their TikToks look amazing,
But
right,
he
Tammy?
was like
And I bet
fighting. He
you
was
Right.
like,
look like
boom,
you
boom,
still
boom.
go at it on the
I
TikToks.
mean, Mike
But
Tyson,
Right.
don't come
man,
after me. I know that you're an incredible fighter, but that night it was weak. He was there for the money, and God bless him. He made
he
20
was.
million out of it. Like, good
Yeah,
for you. You are a badass. Like, have at it. But I think a lot of people were so excited and wanted to see this, an actual boxing match out of these two that it was such a letdown, and it kind of people that I spoke to, and I'm not like huge in the boxing world, of course, but people that I spoke to and see online, they're like, you know what, this is why I don't watch boxing. But then you see those women and they were at it, they were on fire, they were so entertaining, they were like, there's no holding back.
And that was the
And
biggest
boxing is
bag
not
that females
easy.
made. So excuse me, I'm sorry. That was
No, no,
that
no,
was
go
the
ahead.
biggest bag that they ever made. The purse
Yep.
that they came back with, they females never made that ever before. It was like one of the highest times that they were paid. And Amanda Serrano, man, she's paving the way because that wasn't the first time. I think right before that was the first time females got paid that kind of money, and then right after that, now it
Yeah.
increased. So
I bet Tammy, if there's a mom out there and they watch that fight, they would say, okay, that woman could coach my son. Because you didn't get the opportunity to be shown on TV, they didn't get to see you in your true action and your true prime of being able to say, wow, I want that woman, and
Yeah.
not even giving you a chance. And that's
right.
just that just makes me mad. As a mom with 5 boys, I'm like, oh hell no, I'm picking the redhead.
Right. And it's good because this year, back in March, I ended up going to work for a female owned gym. So that was like a little bit of a game changer where before that I was at a male owned gym. The gym was like not really they didn't really help us. They didn't care about it. They wanted me to create the program. They wanted me to head a program. But when it came to it, they didn't give me any support. It was like, okay, yeah, sure, this, that. And the
Yeah.
kids, they had no idea. Like the kids thought that the gym was helping throughout the whole thing, but
Right.
really it was keep fighting that was keeping everybody afloat during that time. And I didn't want to
Mm,
tell them either because like I didn't want them to be like, oh well, they didn't feel supported in a place where they spend most of their time. So
Yeah.
I kind of kept it a secret until we went to go when I ended up leaving. I was like, listen, this is what we're gonna gain and this is what we're gonna lose. Which one would you guys prefer? Because I wasn't gonna leave if
mm,
they wanted to stay. And they were like, we're with you, whatever you decide to do, whatever you're gonna do, let us know and we're gonna follow you. So I ended up moving, but I ended up moving with the whole team. Every kid that fought underneath me
Wow.
followed as
yeah,
well. Yeah. So
yeah. Well,
That's
so tell us a little bit more about your charity, and what do you do? How do you raise money? How can people support you and your fighters? Tell us a little bit more about that.
All right, yeah. So keep fighting is I didn't want to do an suicide prevention nonprofit. And the reason being was that I felt like there were so many steps before that that could have saved the person before we got to that moment. So to me I was like, okay, how do I decide that what's next, right? So I started to get into like that mental health field. I started looking deep into like what exercise does for your body, your mind, everything like that. And then that's when I decided, okay, I want to support people in their mental health journey, but I also want to help them find their gym journey, find that physical health that then turns into mental health. Because when you look good, when you feel good, it's you're mentally going to be okay. So then the idea of keep fighting started from that. It was like, okay, I want to help people with their gym journeys, but I also want to offer them services with mental health providers as well to say, hey, if you don't have the insurance benefit for this, or if you don't have any means to go see someone, we want to help you go see that person. We want you to be able to sit down and kind of speak to somebody about what you're going through. So then we started to offer the mental health services as well. And so that kind of went hand in hand to each other. We did a lot of research
Mm,
on exercise and how it produces that positive endorphin, which then turns into an antidepressant without a
exactly.
side effect. So then that
Yes.
was like a big drive behind that as well. Like, hey, we could be taking antidepressants, we could be feeling sad, but we could also be taking an antidepressant that my body naturally produces,
yeah.
and and feel better without actually feeling sad, side effect of this, right? Like that suicidal thought, that moment where the side effects can make you physically sick and those kind of things. And so yeah, so then Keep Fighting was born, and I started it with just, I don't really, I'm this year as we go into year 5, we'll start to do the funding stuff because now that it'll be established for 5 years, I'll be able to do a lot more. And I just started reaching out to my friends, my family, anybody that I knew, anyone who was willing to listen to me, and ask them, hey, listen, your $50 could go a long way. You never know. And last year, think we sponsored 35 athletes. So in that sense of,
Oh,
yeah, it was like, okay, 35 athletes is a lot. Like, how did that happen? To this year now, sponsoring more athletes and also just like letting normal people, right? I have some people who have special needs on there as well, because sometimes their budget just doesn't cover is going to speak to someone, which is crazy, right? They'll give them thousands
wow.
of dollars for them to go do social things outside in their community, but no money to go speak to somebody when they're the ones who literally are struggling and can't understand why. And so then I
Yeah.
started to think about how I wanted to keep being for the community. So a lot of the stuff I do is community based. I do it in community centers, places where like you pay to have things, but at the same time, it's going back to the people in that community. And so it's trying to keep it all together. So yeah, so I basically go off of donations from my community, the community I built. So
I love
I absolutely love it, and I love that being a being a woman in this coaching industry, but
yeah.
having this sense of purpose is what elevates you to be unlike anybody else in the space. And I think
Driver.
that
Yeah.
that adds such incredible value to what you can give your athletes because you're a woman. I think that is a total game changer because you come to this with the sense of it's not just about the boxing. It's about the wholeness and the wellness of the entire person. And boxing is
exactly,
a part of it, but it's also the mental journey. It's really
exactly.
inspiring what you've done in such a short period of time and how you've
Very,
taken those obstacles and turned it into such a place of giving to the community. A lot of people would go through, you know, a lot of these obstacles and just take and take and take. But you come from a place of you're giving it right back. Like you're like, it ain't mine. I'm here for you. Like that's really impressive.
Yeah, and I think it's like the universe, right? You give what you want to receive. Because I've been very like successful in the part that I do make money. Because I don't make money off of keep fighting. I don't take any money out of it. I think this is the first year that like I'll actually use it to go to nationals myself, where I've used it for everyone else. And this is like my first, and I feel so bad. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going myself. And it's like money that I could be given to a kid or and everyone's like, Tammy, at this point, you have to just like
Mhm.
accept that you're gonna have to eventually take something from it, you know? So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, fine, I'll do that this time. And
It's
yeah, it's
it's
just
an
been weird.
expense to go to
No, but
nationals with your
nationals,
athletes.
yeah.
It's not like you're taking the money and going out and buying a Lamborghini.
Yeah,
Like,
Oh, sh-
nationals is a big deal. They need you there and they
yeah,
need that support
they
there
need
so
that
that you
coach.
can be the face of what can be more
Yeah,
and just to show people that it is possible. So you know, I mean, you have to take that money and go and be there and be present and be proud. Yeah,
yeah,
too
and it's
important.
crazy because I try to separate the two, right? I try to take Coach TMZ and I try to separate it from Keep Fighting, and I'm always like, no, they're not the same. No, they're not the same. And everyone's always like, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm like, no, I'm telling you, they aren't the same thing.
yeah,
They're two separate things. One's boxing where I make money, and that's where I like specialize in all this stuff, and the other one is like how I give back to my community. And a lot of times I don't like to have my face to it because I don't want them to think it's just boxing, you know?
right, right.
Mhm.
I get
True.
that.
Makes
So how
So,
sense.
do you who inspires you or what inspires you to keep going? Like even when you're having
oh,
a really shitty day?
you know, it's funny because the people around me inspire me, right? Like a lot of times, even when I'm with my friends, and I'm just like, man, today just sucks. This happened, and this stupid coach is yelling at me, and I'm making everybody mad because I'm not gonna be silent, right? I'm always making people mad, and I'm like, this coach today said that if they offended me, I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, and I'm like, fuck you, don't, excuse my language, but I'm like, forget you, like at the end of the day, like. And so
Yeah,
everyone's always like, is crazy. But then when I'm down, everyone's like, well, you know what you like to tell everyone, right? And I'm like, what? They're like, keep fighting. And I'm like, you can't use that against me to me. Like, so
I love
it's
it.
like, yeah, it's usually the people around me, man. I try to keep surrounding myself with a lot of people who are looking to do more and looking to inspire more. And I always think about like what my legacy is gonna leave, right? There's a day I won't be here,
Mm.
but what will people remember me as? And so that to
Yeah.
me is a big deal, you know?
I
What's next for
love
you, Tammy? Like, I mean, obviously you have goals that you set. So, I mean, you said that this year you're going to nationals. That probably wasn't even like in a forefront or a sight for you, and and it's doing. So now do you see yourself like having bigger goals and things that you want?
You know, the bigger goal right now for me is definitely for the like youth of this community. I see that so much is gonna happen. There's, you know, if there's 100 kids in the room, probably one will go pro and actually make money off of it. But what about the 99 other people that aren't gonna use this for anything else but what it's gonna do for them physically and mentally? And so I try to live a life where I'm constantly producing that moment and not the moment where it's like, oh, I'm looking for the next great best fighter. So for me, it's just to keep growing, keep fighting, to keep growing Coach TMZ, but definitely to hold a position where I'm trying to do right now in USA boxing, where it doesn't matter who I am as long as I keep helping everyone that's coming after me, you know?
Okay.
So
I
So that's
love
the big goal. And what about the goal for keep fighting? Do you have like a number in mind, or if you wanted to do fast forward 5 years from now, how many kids could you see being impacted? Do you have a dream? Maybe not a goal, maybe it's a dream.
oh, the dream for keep fighting, man. I don't know. I never even thought it was gonna be this big. You know, like when you start
Aw.
something, you're like, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is what it's gonna be. Keep fighting is growing a little too big for me. It started
Mm.
off as my baby, but it's like you want to be the mother to the baby, right? You want to control everything. You want to be like this, and because it got so big this year, my goal is definitely to give a lot of that duty away to everyone else too,
Good for
like my
you.
board and continuing to grow my board. Like this year, we did add a new member who had a mental health background, which is what I was really looking for this year. So I don't
Mhm.
know what Keep Fighting's gonna do. I feel like it's to the moon, pretty much.
That's
Good.
awesome. I had
So
to pull up if you saw me looking down when you were speaking about your legacy and, how you want people to feel. It reminded me of the Maya Angelou quote, and I didn't want to mess it up,
Mm.
and I'm just going to repeat it for those that don't know this quote. But I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And
Amen.
that completely seems like you. I know Sierra and I share those visions, and that's why, we created this. We wanted to have a space so that we can share and elevate other women's badass journey, because we know we all have something, and we all have something that we want to leave, and make people feel good about themselves. So,
exactly. And I'm a kid from nothing, right? Like
mm,
I have two brothers that are my real brothers, but we're adopted. Our real parents were drug addicts. They didn't do the right thing. I lost my real parents when we were very young, and then obviously we got adopted. But I didn't have the best life. I grew up in the projects out in Staten Island. I watched a lot of people around me, like in my 30s right now, almost going into my 40s. They're not even seeing this age, like
yeah,
and to like know that and to like when people meet me and they're like, wait, what is your story? Like it's such a big story. I don't know where to start. I don't
right.
know what to tell you besides, hey, listen, my name's Tammy. I'm a boxing coach and I own a nonprofit, and everyone's like, wait, what? Like that's all. Like like I try to keep my story mine, even though a lot of people want to hear your story. I try to keep it mine because I'm like, you know what? Everyone's going through something and everyone has bad things that happen to them. Like
Yep.
what's the difference between my bad thing and your bad thing, like
Yeah. Mhm.
so as my journey continues, I even learned that even though I had nothing and I come from nothing, I had a conversation with this kid one day. He like his parents had a lot of money. He came from a lot of money and inherited that wealth in his adulthood. And we were having a conversation. And he's like, you know what? People are so proud of you, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, but imagine being in my shoes, being handed everything, being given everything. And if I don't make anything out of it, what will it turn into? People will look down on me. People will be
Yep.
like, well, why, how did you not? And I realize everyone has the same kind
Everyone.
of idea of what they're going through, rich, poor, whatever.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Everyone's trying to figure out who they're going to be and where they're going to end up.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is everyone has a story and everyone can inspire someone else. So that's why That's why we're doing this Unapologetically Badass.
And we have found with so many women that we have interviewed and had on our show is it is happening. Our lives are changing after the ages of 30 and
Yep.
40. It's not something that just magically happened when, you were in your early 20s. You became who you were supposed to be at even later ages. And so, I mean, I think it's incredible. Okay, so if you could just leave our listeners with any kind of message, Tammy, about keep pursuing your passions and I mean, I know you don't want to call it a dream because you just had a vision, and keep pursuing your visions. What message would you want to give them?
Man, just don't give up. Keep fighting, man. Like a lot of times I felt like if I would have listened to other people, I wouldn't even be here. Like
Mm,
if I would have let people tell me who they thought I would be, who I could
yeah.
be, I wouldn't be sitting here doing what I want to do. Like I get to wake up and teach boxing every day. Like I get to have the craziest schedule where sometimes my friends are like, "What time are you going to work today?" And like I get to just do what I want to do when I want to do it. Where a lot of people don't have that leisure, and I didn't have that leisure until I started to do this. I was taught to put your head down, go to work, pay your bills, and move on. And I knew that that just wasn't the life I wanted to live. Like I was like, I
Yeah.
can't be this person. I went to school, I put myself through college, I went to school for photography because
Yeah.
everyone said, go to school, it's going to change your life. Do this, it's going to change your life.
Yep.
None of that stuff changed my life. It
Right.
was crazy,
Right. Right.
you know?
But you getting in a boxing ring and falling in love with it
Wow.
changed your life.
Changed my life. And it's
Yeah.
so
I have
crazy.
I have to ask because I don't know. Like my husband listens to all these, and I know that mainly women are our audience. But as I'm hearing us speak, I have to know, like, what was one of your most intense fights? Can you describe it? I mean, or even as a coach, like one where I mean, you're like yelling, and do you have a fight in mind that you can think of?
Um, Definitely like my most intense fight for myself was definitely my first one. Because it's
Oh,
like you're going out there, you don't know what is going to happen. You're just like, okay, yeah, I'm getting my hands wrapped. I got my headphones on, right? And I'm trying to block out everybody around me. I've never been really good at stare down. So the whole time that like we're trying to do the stare down, I cannot help but hysterically laugh. I'm just sitting and I'm just like, and I'm covering my laugh and I'm like, oh my God, don't take it the wrong way. I can't stop this. Like I'm uncomfortable and so I'm laughing. I'm sorry. Like, and then just getting into the ring and like hearing like I had my little niece. I told my sister, I'm like, do not bring her. She's not gonna understand, like she only sees Titi Tammy as Titi Tammy.
Oh,
And I remember being in the ring and hearing her screaming, like, no, no, don't hit my Titi, no. And me being like
oh,
not able to be like, okay, everything is fine,
yeah,
like
yeah.
and man, a fight is just like people think like, okay, 6 minutes is like so quick. It goes, it's a lifetime in there when someone's throwing punches at you.
I can't imagine. I
Yeah,
can't
it is a
imagine.
lifetime, and they're throwing
have you
punches,
broken
kicks.
anything? I mean, has there
No,
been?
thankfully, no, no, no
Okay.
broken anything. I did break a collarbone back when I ran track, which was like the most random injury. But no, no injuries like that. I did have bruised bones going out of my fight camp just because, like, obviously we're going hard, we're getting hit. My doctor didn't love a lot of the times that I was there, and he's like, "Okay, you have a sprain this or you have this, and you need to take out." And I was like, "Yeah, so I can go to the gym tomorrow. Like, is everything okay?" Like, so I think that was like one of my most intense moments, not being able to like control the room, not being able to control my emotion. And then at the end of it all, being like, wow, it took me years to get here for fucking 6 minutes. Like it's over. That's it. It's
Wow.
done. Like how did
Wow.
that happen? So that was tough. And definitely for my coaching, probably just watching these kids go like first of all, every time they're about to fight, I feel like I'm getting into the fight. So my emotions
Mhm.
are literally as high as they can be. I do get the adrenaline dump that you get right before a fight, except for I never get to fight the fight. So I have to sit there and watch them and scream at them and be like, do this. And do they listen? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Never. You can tell them a million times, hey, I
Yeah.
want you to throw this jab. And then the bell goes off and it is over. There's
I
nothing that's
always wonder that, Tammy, because like you know how they take the camera and the mic and they take it over to the coach, and the coach is like, "You keep going to the right, go to the left, see the left," you know, and then you go in and you watch them, you're like,
he's still going to
"He's
the
gonna go
right.
to the left. He doesn't listen to his coach," and I'm like, "Why did he just listen to his coach?" Now you have box, or you had a coach, so why do you guys not listen to your
In that
coaches?
ring, you're just blank. Literally, you're just trying to survive.
Oh,
Someone is trying to kick your ass, and you're
right.
like, wait a minute here. Am I prepared to get my ass kicked? But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's like a blank moment. That adrenaline dump. Oh man, I try to prepare all my fighters for that when they're first fighting, because it is like one of those fight or flight moments. And if you can, you can't fight. You gotta fight. You're just there. It's just like go. It's very interesting, even like as the corner person, when you're, because me, I don't really spit a lot at you because I just know you're not listening. And so
Mhm.
to me, it's like catch your breath. All right, deep breaths. Okay, how are we feeling? Are we feeling okay? And then it's like, okay, I want you to do like maybe one or two things to fix this, and then that's all I give you. I don't give you anything
Mhm.
more because I truly don't believe you're even absorbing anything.
Right.
And
It's like
at that moment,
after, right? The real coaching happens after the
After,
fight when you get
before and
back
after.
in the practice round. You're like, okay, let's talk about all the
Yeah.
things that we didn't do now and let's focus on
right. Yeah, and you try to create that muscle memory so they're not even thinking about it. They're just doing what they know. And
Perfect.
so it's very intense. And the corner man, sometimes even like in the corner, one day I was in a corner and I was talking to one of the kids, and he's like the nicest kid. He's the one of the athletes on to keep fighting too. He's just very silent. They call him like Dama because he's like, they said he's like a killer in the ring. But outside of the ring, no movement in the face, no smiles, no nothing, no sad face either. It's just a straight. And we're like in the middle of the fight, and I'm like, all right, breathe. And he just looks up at me and he goes, thank you. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, yeah, for everything you do for us. I'm like, this is what we're thinking right now. Like, and
You're like, I need you to get in there and kill him. Don't thank me.
right. So it's like it's a very interesting moment just to even see what's gonna come out of
Wow.
their mouth in those 1 minute breaths in between where you're like, wait a minute, why is this kid saying this to me? You
That's
know?
a trip. That's a
So
trip.
That's
it's
cute.
very interesting. Like I wish they put the mic there when it's those kind of moments and not when
Right.
the trainer's just yelling at the guy, because like I feel like they don't absorb it at all. And I even get upset at coaches who coach with me when they're in there and they're like, "You gotta throw the jab and you gotta do this," and I'm like, "He can't hear you." Like,
Yeah. He's in the fight
He's
mode.
thinking
He's not
about
in the
what
listening mode. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
Different.
okay, my shoulder hurts right now. My
Yeah.
left ear is ringing. My eye is not open.
they're like, "This
And,
guy hits pretty hard."
right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get through the next 6 minutes. Don't talk to
right.
me.
Boxing reminds me of life. It's like
You
I
just
gotta
gotta
do,
get through.
some days you gotta do it 6 minutes at a time.
Exactly. And that's another reason why like I do what I do with boxing, because I do believe that you can take what you learn from boxing, that prosperity, that need to do something better and use it towards life. And that's why I went back to Fusion and started the special needs program there, because I was like, this is the place I felt the most content, the most safe, the most understood. And I was like, I need to give this back in a way where I felt it. And that was why I started the program there. And it's its own program. It does really well, and I was able to hire other trainers, which were fighters, underneath the same umbrella that I was in, and now they're starting to take off with it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Tammy, I would have never thought." And I'm like, "Yeah, now I look at how
That's
cool this is. You're
amazing.
not just you never have to worry about the
Yeah.
client. The client's always going to pay the bill. But at the end of the day, having these moments with these kids and having the moment to see someone learn how to box, whether they be young or old or autistic, like to give it to everyone and be like, okay, this is how you deal with adversity. This is how you deal with everything, because nothing's worse than getting punched in your face, like.
Right. Talk about getting
So
knocked down and picking yourself back up. I mean, that is the lesson of
exactly,
life right there. So,
exactly.
yeah,
So
it's such a pleasure getting to know you and really thank you for sharing your story. I know that this is going to inspire others. And where can they find you, connect with you if they'd like to support your Keep Fighting
Oh yeah.
organization?
So we keep fighting. It's keep slash this way fighting.org. And then if they want to see my coach's stuff, it's coachtmz.com. Pretty
Perfect.
simple. And
Perfect.
all my handles are the same. Keep fighting's handle and Coach TMZ handles on all different social medias, Instagram, TikTok. I try to keep them all the same so that
And
it's just easy to look me up.
awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll include that.
it.
So thank you. And I'm so excited to get to know you more. So on a personal level, no one has wanted to beat me up, but you never know with my badass and swearing, somebody might. And then I'm just going to go, yeah, well, I'm friends with Tammy. So fuck you.
Right. If you're in New York and you're like the red-haired boxing coach, they're gonna be like, I know her.
I'm going to go, she's my girl. So don't mess with me.
Yeah,
So when
it's
they're
very
honking,
interested.
so when all the New Yorkers are honking at me and telling me to get the F out of the way, I'm gonna be like, I know Tammy.
Right. I'm gonna call Tammy on you real
I'm going
quick.
to call Tammy on you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
It's
Fantastic.
been an honor and a pleasure, Tammy. You're amazing. Keep inspiring. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting, as you say. And we can't thank you enough for being on here tonight.
Yeah, and thank you guys for having me. My keep fighting signs behind me. I keep looking back. I'm like, what is behind me? It's my keep
Oh,
fighting sign. It lights
Oh,
up.
I love that.
love it.
And thank you
Yeah.
everyone for listening. Stay tuned for the next Unapologetically Badass podcast. If you like what you heard, please be sure to like, share this with a friend, and we will see you on the next one.
See you later, everybody.
Bye, all.
Yeah.
All right, Queens, that's a wrap for today's episode. But before you hit pause, let's talk about you and how we can help you slay every part of your life. If you're ready to feel fabulous and look like $1,000,000, I've got you covered with my badass queen coaching, sparkling Touchstone crystal jewelry, and Bella Grace collagen, because glowing skin and a sparkly vibe, that's a power move. Check it all out at reneecarbonefleming.com. And my co-host Sierra, oh yeah, she's bringing the heat too. Not only is she rocking Bella Grace collagen for her glow game, but she's also the queen of chic with her fabulous clothing boutique. From boosting your wellness to leveling up your wardrobe, Sierra's got the magic to help you shine inside and out. Check her out at Linktree/Sierra Whitener 7. So here's the deal. Head to our websites, grab the goods that'll help you live your best life, and let's make everything about you unapologetically badass. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with your fellow queens, because the more sparkle in the world, the better. Until next time, keep glowing, keep slaying, and remember, you're a badass queen who deserves it all.